Hello dear children, welcome to this episode. My name is Teacher Diana and I am the host of today's episode. Last time I remember we stopped on page 18. Page 18, the class is primary 3 and the subject is English. We stopped on page 18, so today we are going to begin from page 19. So I expect everyone to be on page 19 by now. The lesson is 12, whereby we have a sub-theme, livelihood in our division. We have a list of vocabulary here, and among the vocabulary we have the word carpenter, secretary, driver, shopkeeper, builder, doctor, garbage collector. We have tailor, farmer, barber, cobbler, fishmonger, market vendor, and butcher. So my dear good children, allow me to talk about the words given in the vocabulary list. I know most of them are not new to you, but let me talk about them briefly. So we have the word carpenter. A carpenter makes furniture. When I talk of furniture, I mean things like table, chairs, desks, doors. Then we have driver. A driver drives vehicles. We have a shopkeeper. A shopkeeper sells things in a shop. Builder. A builder builds houses. We have a doctor. A doctor treats sick people. These two people have different work they do. We have a doctor and a nurse. You always keep on confusing them. We have a doctor and then we have a nurse. A doctor treats sick people. And then when we talk of a nurse takes care of sick people. The next word on the list is garbage collector. When I talk of garbage collector, like you hear the word garbage, garbage means rubbish. So these people collect rubbish, or they collect garbage. We have a tailor. A tailor is a person who stitches clothes. A tailor is a person who stitches. Or you can use the word make, but the word stitch is the best word for you to use. A tailor is a person who stitches. That is the correct spelling of the word stitches. A tailor is a person who stitches clothes. We have a farmer. A farmer is a person who grows crops and keeps animals. A barber is a person that trims our hair. Cobbler. When I talk of a cobbler, I mean a person who mends. Sometimes we use mend. You can use either mend or repair. Mend. In the word mend, there's a small word mend. Mend. So if you don't use mend, you can use the word repair. So a cobbler is a person that mends shoes or repairs shoes. So you should take note of the word cobbler. Cobbler has C-O-B-B-L-E-R. Don't confuse it with the other type of a snake. Then we have the word fishmonger. A fishmonger sells fish or seafood. A fishmonger sells fish or seafood. Then we have a market vendor. A market vendor sells things in a market. A market vendor sells things in a market. We have the word butcher, and it is our last word on the list. When I talk of butcher, I mean a person who sells meat. A person who sells meat is a butcher. Take note of that. Not a butcherman, but a butcher. I always hear you call them butcherman, butchermen. No, it's a butcher. A person who sells meat is a butcher. Then the place where you go to buy meat from is a butcher's. You can say butcher's. You write the word butcher, you put an apostrophe sign, and then put S. You can either say a butcher's or a butcher's shop. So that is the place where we buy meat from. So dear children, we've been given an activity, and the activity is telling us to write sentences using the given vocabulary. So what you're going to do here, you're not going to explain. When they tell you to construct a sentence, they want you to use that word in a sentence, not explaining. So each line is going to be for one vocabulary. We've been given many lines here, and on each line I expect you to use a word in a sentence, one of the words in the sentence. So the first one, we have the word carpenter. You can use the word carpenter in a sentence. For example, my father is a carpenter. I know you will do this for me. So allow me go to the next page, and the next page is page 20. Page 20, but the instructions for page 20 are on page 19, whereby we have structures, and they are saying, what does a cobbler do? So we expect you to answer in a full sentence. Remember, when you're starting a sentence, you must start with a capital letter. What does a cobbler do? Then you begin a cobbler with a capital letter. Then you tell us what a cobbler does. And then don't forget to punctuate your sentence with, ending with a full stop. So on page 20, there is letter B, that is the next question. Oh, sorry. On page 20, these questions were for the map. So we are going to skip page 20. I believe last time when you were writing the topical test, you answered up to page 20 because that's where I told you to stop. So on page 20, we have the questions about the other map, the map of Mboyo sub-county. So we are skipping page 20, and we have gone to page 21 now. And the next question is, who sells meat? Who sells meat? I don't want to find a butcher. No, I need a full sentence. The next question says, who grows crops and keeps animals? You know that person that grows crops and keeps animals, but don't forget to begin with a capital letter and use a full sentence. So with me here on the board, I have a dialogue. Let's first read the instructions. Dear children, like I always tell you, it is always important for you to read and understand the instructions very well, because in English, sometimes the answers are got from the instructions. So always take time to read and understand the instruction. So our instruction says, read the dialogue below and answer the questions that follow in full sentences. Read the dialogue below and answer the questions that follow in full sentences. When I talk of a dialogue, I mean the talk between two people. A talk between two people, like you can be you with your mother. When you're talking, you're having a dialogue. So that is a talk between two people. These two things are different, a dialogue and a conversation. Dialogue, two people. Then conversation, They can be more than 2 people. Now I have, oh, here is my title. Let me underline that title here. That is my title. So I have a friend with me here. I'm going to be Rutwa, and my friend here is going to be Moyema. So you can also try it at home. You can act it at home with your friend, with anyone at home. You can choose to be Rutwa, and then the other one becomes the next person. So when you act it, you find it easier for you to answer the questions properly. So when you are reading, don't read your name. When you're reading, don't read the names. You just say what that person said. For example, I'm Rutwa. I'm not going to say Rutwa, no. I just say what Rutwa said. And the other one, who is Moyema, is going to say what Moyema said. So we are beginning. Good morning, fishermonger. Good morning, fishmonger.
Good morning, fisherman.
Where did you throw the nets?
I threw yesterday and caught a lot of fish.
What do people get from fish?
They get energy when they eat fish. Fish is a source of proteins.
When will you go fishing again?
Sunday morning.
Wow, thank you so much. We are going to do it again. Sorry, it is kind of confusing here, but still you get the answer. That's how we have it in the book. So, good morning, fishmonger.
Good morning, fisherman.
When did you throw the nets?
I threw yesterday and caught a lot of fish.
What do people get from fish?
They get energy when they eat fish. Fish is a source of proteins.
When will you go fishing again?
Sunday morning.
Wow, thank you so much. Allow me clap for my friend here. Flowers for you. Thank you so much. So we have the questions here. The first question says, who is a fishmonger? Who is a fishmonger? So you go back in your dialogue. English is not like other subjects where they stop you from copying. In English, you have to be a very good copycat, but copying from your text, not from your neighbor's work, okay? So with English, you're given a chance to go back and copy, okay? So no one stops you from going back. The answers for these questions are all got from this written text here. So who is a fishmonger? So we have, we'll try the one who say who. Good morning, fishmonger. So who is a fishmonger? According to me, it's Moyema. So we say, remember I told you when you are answering questions, some of the words in the question appear in your answer. Some of the words they use in asking questions will appear in your answer. Who is a fishmonger? Moyema. You copy the name Moyema. Moyema, remember Moyema is a name of a person whereby you have to write it with a capital letter. Moyema, you copy it properly. Moyema is a fishmonger. Who is a fishmonger? Moyema is a fishmonger. Let me write my answer on the board. Moyema, capital M. Moyema is a fishmonger. Moyema is a fishmonger. Don't forget to punctuate. You put your full stop there. Make sure I can see it properly. I'm not telling you to shade, but make sure it is visible. The next question, that is question number 2. What does Mr. Myema do? What does Mr. Myema? What does Mr. Myema do? So you tell us what Mr. Myema does. What does Mr. Myema do? So you will tell us what Mr. Myema does. I don't want to feed you with everything. So you will begin Mr. Myema and then you write the answer. Okay? Like I told you, the answers are within the text. They are within the dialogue here. So you will have to read more than one time so that you can understand properly. Myema, Mr. Myema, you write the answer and end it with a full stop. How many people are in the dialogue? How many people are? In this sentence, I have this word are. That is a key word there. So when you find questions like this, how many, and then you find are. How many, and then you find are. You begin that sentence with there are. There. I'm talking about this there, not this. Most of you make a mistake of writing this. When you use this, you're talking about ownership or belonging. That is their book. You use this. That is their school. This. But in this case here, they are asking for the number. How many? So we shall use this. We don't use this. We don't say they are. All these are wrong. But instead, we use there are. There are. So this is how you will begin your sentence. Just because of this helping verb here. How many people are? How many people are? There are. Let me see how many people are there. How many people do we have? We have Rutwa and then we have Myema. Wow, there are only 2. There are. Remember, in English, we don't write figures. So I don't want to find this in your answer. Instead of this, we write the word 2. There are 2. The rest of the words are here. There are 2 people in the dialogue. There are 2 people in the dialogue. There are 2 people. There are 2 people in the dialogue. Don't forget that full stop. It is very important. So the next question says, apart from fish, name. So this word name, when you see the word name, you see the word give, list, mention, write, just know you're not going to use a full sentence. So they are telling us to name. Apart from fish, name other 3 items we get from lakes. Apart from fish, name other 3 items we get from lakes. So you will have to name them. They may not be here, but you know what we get from lakes. I believe in your lesson of literacy, you must have talked about things we get from a lake. And you'll have to list them here. You don't have to write a full sentence. The next one says, what does a fisherman use to catch fish? What does a fisherman use to catch fish? A fisherman is one person, so we shall say a fisherman uses. We don't say a fisherman use. A fisherman uses. Then you go back here, you look for what he uses. A fisherman uses nets to catch fish. A fisherman uses nets to catch fish. You end with a full stop. What food value do we get when we eat fish? Yes, we've been given the food value in the dialogue. And I believe when you're in primary 1, you looked at food values. You looked at a balanced diet, and then you ended up looking at food values. There were, we had carbohydrates, we had proteins, we had vitamins. So those are the food values we're talking about. So I remember we talked about the food value in this dialogue. You look for it and write it. Draw, name, and color any important people in our division. So you draw for me those important people. You write their names, and don't forget to color them. Important people in our division. When you say a carpenter, when you're to draw a carpenter, don't just draw a man standing. I need to see him doing some work. If it is a carpenter, I need to see some chairs, tables, and him making them. Okay? So I need a picture that talks. So, dear children, allow me go to the next page. That is page 22. Page 22, that's where we are. I believe everyone is there. The instruction is telling us to complete the sentences correctly. Complete the sentences correctly. The first one says, a person who drives a car is a dash. You will have to put for me the answer. A person who makes furniture is a dash. You know that person. A person who sells fish is a. Those two words confuse people. We have a fishmonger and then a fisherman. Like I told you, a fishmonger sells fish, okay? And then a fisherman catches fish. So here they are talking about a person who sells fish is that is a fishmonger. A person who stitches clothes is you know what to do because I talked about them when I was beginning the lesson. There are some few words that I want to talk about. A person who repairs cars and buses, maybe that one, we didn't see that one. That is a mechanic. 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 So that is a mechanic, a person who repairs cars and buses. We have a person who types letters. They missed the word letters, so you'll have to write it. Let me write that sentence here. There was a typing error there. Allow me to write it on the chalkboard. So I'm putting the correction here. It says a person who types. Person who types letters. A person who types letters is a dash. So they want the person who types letters. That is a secretary. That is a secretary. And then we have a person who writes poems. A person who writes poems. When that person is a man, we call him a poet. 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 When she's a woman, then that is a poetess, not poetress, but poetess. Most of you have made that mistake. Instead of poetess, you write poetress, and that is a common mistake. So the next one, we have a person who writes articles for newspapers and magazines. A person who writes articles for newspapers and magazines. That person is called an editor. An editor. Let me write it on the board also. I believe you've got a chance of reading newspapers. In most cases, those people who write in newspapers write their names. So we call those people editors. Editors. So a person who writes news in newspapers or magazines, that is an editor. When one is an editor, when there are many, they are editors. Then we have a person who repairs and fits pipes. A person who repairs and fits pipes. That is a plumber. I believe you've seen plumbers come at your home to fix the pipes. That is a plumber. Plumber. The word is very simple for you to write. This open up for umbrella. Plumber. That is the word plumber. The next one, the next instruction. Oh, they didn't put the instruction, but these are riddles. We call them riddles. The first example they gave us, I'm in charge of a library. Who am I? You have to complete it correctly. I am in charge of a library. Who am I? So you complete by saying you are a librarian. You are a librarian. I write articles for newspapers or magazines. Who am I? You are an editor. I have another one. I catch fish from lakes or rivers. Who am I? You are a fisherman. So those are the examples they gave you. Now you have to complete these ones yourself. Still, there are some new words that were not in the vocabulary list. Maybe you can allow me to talk about them briefly. The first sentence says, I look after sheep. I am a. The person who looks after sheep, a person who looks after sheep is a shepherd. There is this sound. That's why some people say shepherd, just because of the spelling. Okay? So there's a small word, the sheep. Then you write this sound. ah. I remember you looked at this sound. Ah for mixer. Shepherd. So that is the person that looks after the sheep. In charge of a library, that one I know you know. I sell herbs. I sell herbs. How do you call those people who sell herbs? I always see them advertising on the televisions. Those are herbalists, from the word herb. So there is a small word herb, and there is a small word herbal. Herbalists. So those are the people who sell herbs. The next one we have I sell medicine and ointments. I sell medicines and ointments. I believe you've ever gone to those shops that sell medicine and ointments. And that shop is called a pharmacy. But the person who sells things there is a pharmacist. Pharmacist. That is a person, but the place is a pharmacy. I take photographs. I take photographs. I know you know those people. You've ever seen them taking photographs. A photograph is the same as a picture. Taking a picture like this. And that is a photographer. Photographer. Auto. Photo. Graph. Photo. There's a small word photo. Graph. When is one is a photographer, when there are many they are photographers. The next one, that one you know, I cut meat. I cut and sell meat. We talked about that person. I believe you know. I write books and novels. I write books and novels. How do you call that person that writes books and novels? The other one was the one who writes poems. We said that is a poet. So a person who writes books or novels is an author. An author. An author. Author. So that is the person who writes books, who writes novels who writes novels or books. I catch fish, you know that. I sell fish. I believe you know that. So I want us to write this work up to page 24. 24 is where we are going to stop. There is a small instruction here. No, we are looking at one word for many, and they are telling us to give. When they use the word give, don't write the sentence again. Okay? Like I told you, when they use the word give, write, name, mention, list, you don't need to write the sentence again. But when they use the word rewrite, then you have to write again. Because the word re means again. So rewrite. When they use the word rewrite, whenever you find that instruction that says rewrite, that means you're going to write the sentence again. But in this case, we've been told to give. Give a single word for the underlined group of words. Give a single word for the underlined group of words. Now, the first one, that is letter A. I saw a man who treats people's eyes. I saw a man who treats people's eyes. The underlined words are man who treats people's eyes. Yes, how do you call the person who treats people's eyes? We have two words that keep on confusing children like you. First, we have the word optician. Optician. So we have optician, we have the word oculist. When you go to P5, P6, they will tell you another word to mean the same as oculist. I'm not going to talk about it now because it may confuse you. So we have those two words. We have an optician and then we have an oculist. So an optician sells. This one sells. Sells things like eyeglasses. So this person sells. But oculist treats. So an oculist treats sick eyes. An oculist treats sick eyes. So when your eyes are sick, or when they have a problem, you can't see them well, they take you to an oculist, not to the dentist, my dear, but to an oculist to treat them. Okay, so here they said a man who treats. So this is the answer they want, an oculist. My mother is a woman who looks after sick people. I told you that, and I believe you know. A person who cuts and sells. A person who cuts and sells fish. You know the person who sells fish. A person who types office work. We've talked about that person. Stella is a person who types office work. I believe you know that. She got married to a person who makes furniture. She got married to a person who makes furniture. We've talked about that. Remember, you're just giving. You're not writing the sentence again. Let me see. Letter G is simple. You can answer it. Letter H, my father slapped a man who collects money and gives tickets in a bus or a taxi. I believe everyone has ever used a taxi. There are a few children who have never used a taxi. But in a taxi, there are two people. We have different people there. We have a driver. We have passengers like you. And then we have another person that collects money. And that is I know you've said the answer already. That is a conductor. 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 I hear Nigerians saying conductor because of this OR. Conductor. So I don't want to find it ER. It is OR. But the word is conductor. When these days we even have female people that collect money in a taxi. That is a conductress. Conductress. The next one, she met a man who writes books and novels. Yes, I told you about this person. That is an author. I believe I talked about that. So, dear children, the last page is page 24, and it is the easiest of all. Page 24, and it is the easiest of all. We have, you're going to complete these sentences. Where do we find a teacher? You're lucky they have even written for you some of the words, so you're going to complete by writing only one word. Where do we find the teacher? We find a teacher in a dash. It's very simple. You know where we find those people. The next instruction, and that is the last one, says make correct sentences from the table below. You've been given a substitutional table. There is a table like this, whereby you're supposed to choose one word from here, one from here, and one from here, and then you make a sentence. This is called a substitutional table. So they want you to construct only correct sentences. Okay? Because you may decide to get one word here, one here, and one here, and then you end up getting a wrong answer. For example, you can't say a secretary works in a garden. You know that is wrong. We've never seen a secretary working in a garden. So you must make only correct sentences. A teacher works in, then you tell us where he works. A baker, where do we find the baker? A baker, we find a baker in a bakery. So a baker works in a bakery. Those are the sentences that you are going to make. Remember, when you're beginning a sentence, you must begin it with a capital letter. Don't forget to punctuate by ending with a full stop. So, dear children, allow me end here. Remember to always keep safe. Wear your face mask, wash your hands, sanitize, and always keep a social distance. I love you so much. Bye-bye.